Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a massive stack of logs and reports to get through today, and I want to start with something that sounds great on paper, but honestly usually ends up being just a nightmare. Organized fun.
You're talking about the Tide Gardens on Lathira IV.
I am, yeah. We're looking at the Shoreleave reports for the USS Arawyn, and the setting is this place, the Tide Gardens, for soft landings. And my first thought was, really, you take a crew that's been in high-stress situations, keeping a metal can alive in space, and you say, okay, go look at some flowers, relax. Does that work?
Well, that's the exact question Morale Director Alura Ryn was asking herself in her logs. And this is where we get into something really interesting, a concept she calls the decompression cascade.
The decompression cascade, it sounds like a whole breach.
In a way, it is a psychological one.
Right.
Ryn's whole philosophy is that you can't just slam the brakes on a high-performance team. You can't go from 100 to 0.
They get the bends.
Exactly. The psychological bends, restlessness, anxiety. So the soft landing isn't about forced fun. It's about giving them low-stakes choices, agency.
So not volleyball at 0800, but more like what?
Just options. She notes that for the first couple of days, the crew is almost paralyzed. They're looking for orders. But she set up these things, hikes, silly scavenger hunts, or just sitting. No accountability. And by day 3, she sees this shift. People stop asking, what's next?
And they start asking what?
Do you want to sit with me? It's a shift from doing to being.
That's a huge distinction.
And she feels it herself. She joins this movement class, basically a flow state exercise. The instructor dims the lights, and Alura realizes, for the first time in months, she's closed her eyes. She's not scanning the room, not facilitating.
She's just there.
She's just there. The soft landing finally worked.
It sounds so idyllic, but here's the problem with deep dives like this one. We get lulled into this quiet place, and then we look at the other half of the data. Because while the crew is having this breakthrough planet side, the ship itself, the Arawyn, is waking up. And it is waking up grumpy.
And broken. And full of secrets. That's the real tension here. You've got this Tide Garden piece on the surface, and then this cold, mechanical reality waiting in orbit.
The transition is not smooth.
It's jarring.
Let's start with the human side of it. Shoreleave is where the personal drama always explodes, right? People finally have time to think. We've got 2 big stories, and I want to start with Dr. Riah Amberlyn. She's in a cabin in the woods sim.
Yeah, and this was a heavy read. She's not just relaxing, she's confronting a ghost. She's writing this letter to her biological daughter, Crystal McLaughlin.
A daughter she's never met.
Never met. And you can see the drafts of this letter.
Yeah.
It's just painful. She's struggling with this honesty paradox. She wants to be truthful, but the truth is just going to hurt this girl. She's scratching out lines of polite or word bullshit.
And just signing it Rhea. No love, no sincerely.
It's so raw. But then she's not alone. Lieutenant Stephen Remington shows up.
And the whole tone just flips. We go from this heavy, difficult letter to replicated bourbon by a fire.
It's a classic setup, isn't it? Remington is the present comfort. The letter is the past trauma. They have this ancient ritual moment. Rain on the roof, holographic fire. It's designed to lower your defenses.
And it works. They end up on the porch. He says he wants to be more than friends. They kiss. The log calls it a perfect moment. But is it real? Or is it just Shoreleave syndrome? You know, what happens on Lathira IV?
She knows that's a risk. She even notes, maybe this is perfect now. She's actively trying not to think about tomorrow, about putting the uniform back on.
And bubbles pop.
The second they touch reality.
Speaking of reality, Alura Ryn is back on the ship. She's in her office, which has a holographic fishbowl, which I love. And Ryan Collingway shows up.
Ryan, fresh out of jail.
Confined to quarters, wasn't he? For a lift incident.
Yep. Alcohol and a very unhappy commander. He comes to Alura to clear the air about them. And I expected excuses, but he does something surprisingly mature. He says he has roadblocks.
Roadblocks. That's a bit vague. Is that just a gentle letdown?
I don't think so. I think he's being honest. He admits he cares for her, but he knows he's a mess. And this is where it gets fascinating, because Alura's response tells us so much about Rijian physiology.
Right. She's not human.
Exactly. Ryan mentions a time she seemed, off or distant. And Alura has to explain that Rijians have a totally different nervous system. What he saw as an emotional cold shoulder was actually just a physiological reaction.
I forget sometimes that not everyone clocks that immediately. That's the line.
Which is a great point. We assume everyone feels things like we do. But they sort it out. They agree to just be friends. She accepts him, roadblocks and all. It's a healthy boundary.
Which is pretty rare in these logs.
Very rare.
Well, if they're the model of healthy boundaries, the medical department is. The exact opposite. Riah gets back from her perfect moment in the cabin, walks into sickbay, and finds no one.
Literally no one. Tumbleweeds.
How does that even happen? On a starship, you can't just lock the doors.
It's a total failure of leadership. Riah holds this accountability meeting, and it turns out the staff snuck out the back door.
For what?
To go to a tri-level damage control game championship.
They prioritized a video game tournament over staffing the ER.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It just shows you the burnout level. The cat's away, the mice don't just play, they abandon their posts. And the irony is, of course, a real emergency happened while they were gone.
And this is where we meet Lieutenant Jorik, the Vulcan. I think he's my new favorite character because he was just waiting.
He's the embodiment of limbo. He's new. He doesn't have a shift yet, so he's just standing in an empty sickbay because, well, that's the logical place to be.
Yeah.
And then chaos walks in. Ensign Caldwell with electrical burns, Ensign Torres with a concussion.
So Jorik steps up. He handles it, but then he spots something. And this is where I need you to break this down for us. He runs a scan on Torres and finds a 1.1% elevation in metafebrin levels.
Right.
1.1%. That sounds like a rounding error. Why does Jorik even care?
To a human doctor, maybe is. But here's what metafebrin is. It's a protein your body uses for rapid tissue regeneration. Think of it like the scaffolding that goes up when your body is trying to fix a major injury, and fast.
Okay, so Torres' body is fighting something.
That's the weird part. Torres just had a minor concussion. A 1.1% spike is way out of proportion. It means his body's waging some kind of battle on a cellular level that has nothing to do with falling in a Jeffries tube. It's like walking into a clean room and finding one single muddy footprint.
That's creepy.
Something invisible is in the room with you. And Jorik, being Vulcan, he doesn't dismiss it. He just files it away. It's a loose thread.
And when you pull on those, the whole thing tends to unravel.
Always.
While Jorik is spotting these invisible footprints, the department gets a new boss, Dr. Claire Dunross, and she makes quite an entrance.
She doesn't just show up. She arrives on a shuttle with a patient already on a stretcher, Ensign Reyes, who tore a tendon in his hand. And she doesn't do the whole "hi, I'm new" to her. She just blows past Riah, bypasses the paperwork, and heads straight for an LR.
And she repairs the tendon by hand with microfilaments.
Which is incredibly old school. It shows she values skill over automation. Later, she has a drink with Riah. So much drinking in these logs, and they talk about their styles. Riah is drowning in meetings. Dunross just refuses to play that game.
She's there to cut and cure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Riah is the diplomat. Dunross is the mechanic. You can already feel the friction there.
Speaking of mechanics, we have to go to engineering. Because if medical was negligent, what's happening with the ship's weapons is, frankly, terrifying.
Terrifying is the word. Chief Engineer Elias Harlan is running diagnostics with his jail crew, the junior engineers on punishment detail.
He calls it constructive punishment.
And it pays off. Lieutenant Caldwell, the same guy who got burned, finds something. The tactical systems all report green. All systems go. But the actual component logs show 0 power draw ever.
Okay, so explain that to me like I'm 5.
I imagine you have a flashlight. You flip the switch, and the little green indicator light comes on. But there are no batteries inside. The bridge thinks the phasers are ready to fire, but they've never even been turned on.
So it's a paper tiger.
It's a complete paper tiger. If the Arawyn had gotten into a fight, they would have pushed the button, and nothing would have happened. They were defenseless.
Wow. How does something like that pass inspection?
Bureaucracy. Someone checked a box without checking the plug. So Harlan orders a manual power-up right now. But that creates a new problem. Commander Sorvak in science starts yelling because his power is being drained.
Right. He's studying Orion rift harmonics.
Which sounds very important, but basically he's listening to the music of the universe, and engineering just turned on a giant vacuum cleaner in the next room. It shows you how interconnected everything is. You fix the weapons, you break the science.
And into this mess walks the new tactical chief, Grayson McKinney. And this guy, he's different.
Very different. He arrives on the USS Cairo.
Yeah.
He's an MMA fighter. He's physically imposing. But he is not just a brute.
He's a strategist. There's that scene where he's looking down at Lathira IV, this paradise, and he calls the Arawyn a wolf circling a koi pond.
That image really stuck with him.
Me too, a wolf circling a koi pond.
He sees how fragile it all is. And he notices something the ship's long-range sensors missed entirely. The civilian freighters out in Sector 4, they're bunching up. They're not flying their normal routes.
The locals know when the weather is changing before the sensors do.
It's behavioral economics as a tactical tool. The civilians are scared. They're huddling for safety. McKinney realizes that while the Arawyn's crew is relaxing, the locals are bracing for a storm. Peace is about to end.
So you have fake weapons, nervous freighters, and a wolf in the pond. But there are also internal demons that might be just as dangerous. We need to talk about Aev Flammia.
This is probably the darkest storyline in the whole batch. Aev is the chief of security. He's coming back from Corvinus with a Lathira P implant.
And for those who don't know, a Lathira P implant is what exactly?
Think of it like a circuit breaker for your brain. Aev is psionic, telepathic, but it's unstable. The implant basically dampens the signal so he doesn't burn out his own mind or, project his thoughts violently.
He has a subspace call with his mother, and she drops a bombshell on him.
A life-altering one. Aev asks if they knew he was psionic as a child, and she says yes. Not only did they know, but after he hurt some kids at school with a projection, they had a surgeon place a mental block in his mind to suppress it.
They hid his own nature from him.
His entire life.
That's a massive violation. I understand the safety argument, but to lie to your own child about who they are.
It's the ultimate betrayal. He feels like his entire identity was stolen from him. He wasn't taught to control it. He was just broken on purpose. He hangs up on her, just completely devastated.
And this is just the universe having a twisted sense of humor. Right after his entire reality has been shattered, what happens?
He realizes his kitten is missing.
It's so absurd. You're dealing with this existential trauma, and your next thought is, where's the cat?
But that's life on a ship. The tragedy and the mundane happen at the same time. The kitten, by the way, ends up in sickbay. Alive, probably causing more chaos for poor Jorik. But think about it. The chief of security, the guy responsible for keeping the ship safe, is completely compromised, right when McKinney is spotting threats on the horizon.
It feels like all these threads are just pulling tighter and tighter. You have the medical team recovering from this dereliction of duty. Engineering is scrambling to plug in the batteries, and security is dealing with a deep, deep trauma.
And we haven't even talked about the Vulcan problem.
Right. We have to touch on that. It was a small note in the logs, but it felt heavy. Jorik and the chief engineer, Harlan, they have a past.
They do. From 12 years ago. And it did not end well. There's this quiet moment where Jorik goes down to engineering. He doesn't say anything profound. He just brings Harlan a sandwich and a very specific iced coffee.
An olive branch.
A logical one. Food is a universal language. Harlan takes it, but they barely speak. It's just that horrible awkwardness of two people who used to be close and are now just strangers.
Jorik calculates the probability of them resolving things at 12.4%.
Which is just tragic. He's running the math on a broken friendship. But the fact that Harlan took the sandwich, that's not nothing. It's a tiny bridge over a huge chasm.
So let's pull all this together. We started this deep dive with soft landings and the pied gardens. It sounded nice, but after going through all this, I'm not sure rest is the right word.
I think decompression is better. And decompression can be violent. The crew of the Arawyn stopped running for a few days, and everything they were outrunning finally caught up. Riah's daughter, Ryan's issues, Aev's family secrets, the ship's own failures.
It goes right back to that McKinney quote, when the weather is always perfect, you forget how to build a roof.
Exactly. The Arawyn is the roof. It protects them. But we just learned the roof is full of holes. The weapons were off. The doctors were playing video games. The security chief is reeling.
It makes you wonder, if those nervous freighters in Sector 4 are right and something is coming, is this crew ready?
On paper? Maybe. But psychologically, they're fragile. They had their soft landing, but the ground beneath them is still shaking. And I can't shake the feeling that Jorik's discovery, that 1.1% metafibrin spike, is the real canary in the coal mine.
The invisible footprint.
Exactly. Small things have big consequences in a closed system. I have a feeling we have not heard the last of Ensign Torres, or whatever is busy healing inside him.
Well, that's a comforting thought to end on. Invisible threats and broken weapons.
Keeps you on your toes.
That it does. Thank you for walking us through this. And to all of you listening, maybe check your own power logs today. Make sure the batteries are actually in the flashlight.
Always good advice.
See you next time.